Good day, good people. My name is Kaba Sekwele and I'm an online math tutor here to help young children turn their struggles into their successes. So many times on this channel, I have mentioned how much I do not like teaching math tricks or math shortcuts to young kids. So today I'm going to explain why teaching math tricks to young people, or in fact teaching math tricks to people who are not developed in mathematics, is not a good idea. And then I'm going to explain what would be more beneficial for people who are in this position. Before we start though, we need to understand what a math shortcut is. Brilliant defines math shortcuts as a collection of techniques that aid in large arithmetic computations. Put simply, math tricks are a bunch of math methods and techniques that make it easier to solve large math problems. The average person would view math tricks as, the tricks that you see on TikTok. I actually have a few videos that explain some of these viral math tricks on TikTok, so be sure to check that out in one of my other videos. I will link them down in the description as well as up in the end cards. But yes, that's your average math trick. That's what a math trick looks like. However, this definition and other definitions that I've seen broaden my perspective and my idea of what a math shortcut really is. See, with this definition, math shortcuts are basically any technique that you can use to make it easier to solve a math problem. So even the methods that are taught in class can be viewed as math shortcuts. In fact, that's what they are. Because when you think about it, a lot of the times the math methods that are taught in class always have a step-by-step process that lead you to your final answer. And unfortunately, most of the time, you never really know what is the reason for each step. You're just told this is what you need to do. So that's very similar to math tricks, the math tricks that you find on TikTok. You're told what the next step should be, but you don't necessarily understand why you should be taking this next step. So in that way, math tricks and the math methods that are taught in class are very similar to one another. Therefore, I can classify them both as math shortcuts. I mean, parents, think back to when you were in school. I'm sure a lot of the times to solve certain problems, your teacher told you what to do. She explained to you the steps that you could use to solve that specific type of problem all the time. And most times your teacher doesn't necessarily explain why we use those steps to solve this type of problem. So even though the math methods that are taught in class are definitely a lot longer than the math tricks that you see on TikTok, they work according to the same principle. A very good example of a math method that is taught in class is the method that is used in long division. Long division has quite a few steps that are repeated over and over and over again, depending on how long the sum is. But a lot of the time, the average child doesn't understand why all these steps are there. Why are we multiplying this number with that number? Why are we dividing that number with that number? Why are we subtracting these two numbers? You see, a lot of kids don't know why they're doing what they're doing. You see, the method has a lot of steps and a lot of laws, which tends to confuse kids because they don't see the logic behind, they don't see the reason behind all of these steps. I remember struggling so much as a kid with long division because it simply made no sense. I had no idea what I was doing, and I started to get frustrated with myself thinking I was the problem. But really it was not understanding the reasons behind all of these steps. It was all just a game of memorization. And if you missed even just one step in that entire process, everything else I did from that point forward would be incorrect. So that's why so many kids struggle with long division. It's a game of memorization with no logic. Therefore, it's easy to forget steps, which is why so many young people struggle to remember long division. And I know for me personally, because I now finally understand what long division is all about and why all of these steps are there. In the next 50 years, you could ask me to do long division and I wouldn't struggle because I understand the reasons. Therefore, I can apply the logic. But now here's the thing. The issue is not that math shortcuts exist. The issue starts when children start using these math tricks and math methods, essentially math shortcuts, without properly understanding them. Another issue comes when these math shortcuts are how math is taught to your child. These math shortcuts become the basis, the foundation of your child's math, and that is a very shaky foundation. The basis for any child's mathematics should be math theory and math principles, not math methods or shortcuts. I talk about it many times on this channel. Math theory should be the foundation for your child's mathematics. And this is general knowledge. This is how life works in general. For you to be a master of something, you need to know it theoretically. You need to understand it theoretically before you can apply it practically. But the issue is that in some cases, children are taught the practical stuff first instead of the theory. Therefore, obviously, children are not going to do well with the practical because they are lacking the fundamental part of math. So before your child tries to implement any type of math shortcuts, they need to know math well. They need to be able to answer questions such as, what is multiplication? What am I doing when I'm multiplying two numbers together? What is division? What is long division? Why am I doing all of these steps in long division? What are fractions? What are percentages? What is a ratio? If they can answer those questions logically and accurately, then they are qualified. They now have the right to use math shortcuts. That should be the basis for their mathematics. And this is so important because that is what your child is going to be tested on in exams. Their knowledge and their understanding of the subject. Not how well they can memorize steps and techniques. Granted, those techniques are useful because they are tools. They are nothing more than tools that they can use to prove to their teacher that they do understand the subject. Tools that they can use to solve problems. Nothing more. Just like a shovel, your child may know what a shovel looks like. And they may, to a certain extent, know how to use a shovel. But if they don't know when to use it, if they cannot themselves figure out when to use a shovel, then the tool doesn't become very helpful to them, which means they'll always need somebody to tell them when to use it. So math tools are the same. Many children know math shortcuts and they're able to use them. They are able to follow the step-by-step instructions. However, because they don't understand mathematics, they won't always know when to use this tool, this math method. So in math exams, the very difficult questions are not going to tell them what tools or what methods to use to solve this problem. Math exams are just going to present the problem to them and expect them to know when to use what method. So now if your child doesn't understand the method, but they just know how to follow instructions, they will never know when to use this method to solve a problem, to solve what type of problems. So it really is all about understanding. Even if your child doesn't necessarily know a particular math method, simply because they understand math, in an exam, they will figure out a way. They will most likely do better than the child who just knows math methods, because they will know how to solve problems just simply based on their understanding of math facts. Just simply based on the fact that, okay, if this happens, then I should be able to do this and that to solve the problem. I'm not sure if I'm making sense, but the point is, the best thing that you can do for your child is emphasize the importance of learning math theory, math facts. That is what will help them do so much better than a child who knows a lot of math shortcuts. So unfortunately, many children are only taught math shortcuts. Children are shown the tools and they're shown how to use them, but many times nobody actually connects the dots, or at least teaches them to connect the dots for themselves. They have all these tools in front of them, but when do you use them? What is the point of all this? Why am I doing what I'm doing? That's the issue with having all these tools at their disposal, but not really making sense of the subject itself. Not really understanding the subject itself. Which is unfortunate because it leads children to the incorrect belief that mathematics in general doesn't make sense. All you do is follow a bunch of rules and hopefully that will lead you to your answer. There's no logic or sense. There's no pattern that they can follow. That's incorrect thinking, but it is fueled by the constant learning of math shortcuts that don't make sense. I mean, how often do you see people teaching children math theory? Think back when you were in school, how often were you encouraged to study mathematics from a theoretical standpoint? One where you did use math shortcuts, but you understood them and you knew why you were using them. And you knew when to use them in scenarios where you're not told to use them. But because you understand math, you knew that this method could help me solve this problem. How often were you encouraged to study mathematics in that way? Not many people can say that they had that growing up, but that's what your child needs to do well in this subject. So to bridge the gap between knowing how to use a certain math shortcut and understanding that math shortcut, your child needs to try and find the reason behind each and every step in the math shortcut that they are using. Because the truth is, all the steps in all math shortcuts have a reason. There is a reason why they're there. They come from somewhere. Mathematicians didn't just choose random steps and hope that they created a math shortcut that could work. No, there's a reason behind each step. It just wasn't explained to your child. So your child needs to figure out the reason for themselves. Your child can actually view it as an opportunity to learn fundamental math facts and principles. Personally, for me, I've made it a law. I won't use a math shortcut unless I understand why it works. So for me to have the right to use a math shortcut, I need to understand it. Math shortcuts cannot be the basis for your child's mathematics. It can't be the only thing that they know. They need to invest time in studying the subject from a theoretical standpoint. studying the subject itself. They need to answer the whats and the whys of math for themselves. Knowing that information will lead them to the how of mathematics, how to solve problems. You can't properly know the how without knowing the what and the why. So please, as a parent, encourage that approach of study. Encourage the long game. Encourage the path that leads to permanent success in mathematics. This actually reminds me of, I think it's a parable of a goose and the golden eggs. One day, this farmer woke up and found that one of his geese had laid an egg. But it wasn't just any ordinary egg, it was a golden egg. Therefore, this egg was of incredible value. He was obviously very excited. But now, he woke up the next day and the same thing happened. Or he now had 2 golden eggs. He woke up the next day, the same thing happened, and over and over and over again. Therefore, he became a very rich man as a result of these golden eggs. But later, this farmer started to become very impatient. He wanted more golden eggs at a faster rate. So later, he decided he was going to kill the goose to find all of the golden eggs inside the actual goose. He then killed the goose only to find that there were no golden eggs. And this is a shame because he literally killed his only source of golden eggs. So the reason I'm mentioning this is because to keep getting golden eggs in math, you need to keep growing and nurturing your goose. That is your knowledge and your understanding of mathematics. It needs to keep improving. But if you decide you want to go the shortcut route, which is to only focus on practicing math shortcuts and tricks without understanding what you're doing, you would be killing your goose trying to get more eggs, which will ultimately result in 0 eggs. So encourage your child to focus on nurturing their goose. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope it helped. Again, I have a few videos that explain math tricks, these viral math tricks that you see on TikTok. So if you are a child watching this video, please go ahead and watch that. Or if you are a parent, show that to your child. And hopefully that can help them to see how to find these math facts in math tricks. If you are searching for an online tutor for your child, please be sure to go down to my website and schedule a free consultation with me. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.